All right, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, your 2026 nonprofit digital marketing plan. If you can hear me, just want to make sure everything's working good. Go ahead and type 1 in the chat. Just let me know that that you're here, that you can hear me, and that everything is going good. Thank you, Rachel, Rand. Welcome, welcome, Rabbi Barsky. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you, Rick. Wonderful. We've got some wonderful names in here, some folks we know. Welcome, welcome. We're very, very excited to get things going for you. And today, I'm going to maximize your time, maximize the value that we have here. And I'm going to get right into this. I know there's some people still coming in. This webinar was fully booked, so we're super excited about the folks that are coming in. But I want to make sure that we respect everybody's time and get right to this. Type 1 there in the comments if you're excited about learning about how to apply digital marketing to your nonprofit this year. I'm very excited about sharing this stuff with you guys. And, I want to make sure that we participate together, that this isn't just a one-way conversation. So throughout this, I'll be asking you some questions. Now, did everybody get the link to their workbooks? Go ahead and just drop a little comment in the chat there. Just let me know that you got your workbook. You were able to download it. I think we had an issue. We went to send it out yesterday, so you can get it in plenty of time. But I think it went out this morning. So take a look. If you haven't checked your email, take a look at your workbook. It would be helpful for you for today. Of course, doing it a little bit ahead of time probably will help. But what I will tell you is that if you haven't done it yet, feel free to do it after this webinar. There's some really helpful tools and some stuff that I'm going to go through as as we go through these slides. So I guess let's jump in and let's get started. All right, so let's talk a little bit about digital marketing, what it means for your nonprofit. I've got a number of screens here, so I'm going to first kind of go into a little bit about what we do. Nonprofit Marketing Center has been around since 2001. We're the oldest company in this business. Now, we've been around by different names. Some folks know us as Net Ministry, others as nonprofit websites, and we have a number of other small brands that we've put out there over the years, but they're all part of what we do here. And what we do is focus on helping nonprofits to amplify their impact, to have a great platform, a great great levels of service that can serve their constituents and to help them to grow their organizations beyond what they can with the tools that are in their hands or the people that are around them. Sometimes we've got a whole army of volunteers, but when you really need something done, it seems like things aren't quite as seamless as they should be. So that's a little bit about us in case you don't know much about us, but we've been serving organizations for 25 years now, and we've worked with over 60,000 nonprofits all around the world. So very blessed to have done that and to be expanding. We're still around. We're still standing in spite of economic ups and downs and all kinds of stuff like a pandemic, but we're still here, and we're so glad that you're still here. Let's talk about today's agenda. We're going to talk about a few things. First of all, we want to get really clear on the goals and targets for the year. We're going to outline some of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the KPIs. What are our key performance indicators that tell us that we're doing well, that we're making progress throughout the year towards our goals. We're going to talk about how to achieve outcomes. We are going to talk a little bit about strategy. Well, a lot about strategy, but this is all intended to get us to a specific outcome. I find that when folks come to us many times, they're thinking about what specifically they want to implement. But most of the time, it's most helpful if they come to us with an outcome and then allow us to kind of tell them what's best for them and what can really help them accomplish their goals. But we're going to talk about the KPIs. We're going to kind of map out the marketing plan. So what I promised you in the title of this webinar and the things that we've put out to you is that we are going to give you a full marketing plan for the year. So you don't have to come up with this on your own. You're going to have everything you need to just fill it all in with the specifics of your organization, but you're going to have the full plan. And then we're going to talk about setting you up for massive success. By the end of this workshop, the goal is to have a clear roadmap so that you can grow your donor base and increase support for your mission in 2026. Type 1 in the chat there if that sounds exciting to you, because I want to make sure I'm hitting the right audience here. Are we talking about excitement over more donors, more volunteers, more supporters? Anybody excited about that? Yeah, type one in the chat if that's you. All right, Rachel's super excited. All right, got my audience of one there, Rachel. Thank you so much. I think everybody else is too. All right, let's jump in. So I want to talk a little bit about the internet marketing plan, and this is the workbook that was sent over to you. So if you didn't get the workbook, you didn't download it, make sure you go back to your email. Guys, today is not about a sales pitch. Today there won't be any pricing, there won't be any tap dancing about what we do and trying to get you in here. What we want to give you some value. And we do this because we know that if we give you value, we give you that plan, you might come and do some business with us. So I want to make sure that you get all the value you can out of this. Make sure that you download that workbook. It's going to allow you to review kind of a snapshot of where you are. It'll help you to plan on things that you might want to do in the new year. There's quite an extensive list of income categories, some things you might not have thought about in the past, maybe some you have and you've kind of delayed, but it gives you a whole outline. There's also a budget planner in there, and it's an amazing tool that we built that'll really get you some real clarity around budgeting and what next year is going to cost. And a little extra bonus there, we have one for nonprofits, and we made one just for churches. So if you're a church right now on the webinar, you'll see that there's a special budget planner just for you. And then finally, it's going to give you a full list, a full checklist, so you can audit your current digital marketing condition and make some key decisions, or just kind of review some key items that may or may not be present in your digital marketing plan. And that's going to let you to do it just like a pro would, right? Now, of course, we will go about it in some more detail, but I think there's 3-4 pages of checklist that you can go through each aspect of your digital marketing plan and see if it aligns, and what changes and improvements are possible. All right, let's talk about a little bit about me. So again, I've been in this industry here for 25 with our current company. I was in this for about 5 years before that. So about 30 years total of internet marketing and development experience. I've worked with small nonprofits, churches, large nonprofits. By the way, anybody in here been doing their nonprofit for over 20 years? Put a little one in the chat there if you've been over 20 years. So some of you guys, you might have been with us for that long, right? So 20 years. How about anybody over 10 years? 2. Put a little 2 if you've been over 10 years. Anybody? How about over 5 years? No, put a 3 there if you've been a nonprofit for over 5 years, right? All right. Anybody brand new? So less than 5 years. I know if you've been a nonprofit for 4 years, it doesn't seem like you're brand new, right? You've definitely gone through some stuff, but if it's under 5 years, put a little 4 in the chat there, just so we kind of know each other. We know kind of who we're in the room with. Now, I recently just released the only internet digital marketing book for nonprofits that exists on Amazon. I encourage you to jump out, take a look up Unlimited Impact. If it's something that you can use, jump in and download it. I'm sure Amazon will send me a few pennies or something. But it has a bunch of strategies, a bunch of frameworks that we use here to help nonprofits accomplish their mission. But that's a little bit about me. My background in this is I started off in the church world and helping churches to get websites. And as we grew, we expanded out into the general nonprofit world, and we've had quite an adventure. So really exciting things that have happened. And that is definitely enough about me and enough time looking at my face. Let's move on. All right, let's talk a little bit about the largest digital marketing trends for 2026, the stuff that's coming. All right, so we've got AI-powered donor segmentation. We're seeing AI being used to kind of slice your donor database and create predictions of giving patterns. Some of you guys are using CRMs that do that. Some of you are doing that manually, but AI-powered donor segmentation, a really big thing for 2026, using the power of AI to understand your donor base better. Also, Google ad grant optimization. A lot of you guys know about Google ad grants. Some of you guys have a Google ad grant, but it hasn't really been working for you. So this year, what we're finding is a lot of folks are looking to just figure this thing out. How do I better use this $10,000 a month that Google gives me to create traffic and generate donors and more participation in my organization? So previous years, it was a big deal to get a Google grant. But once people find out, okay, I've got the Google grant, I'm running my ads, they find out that it's really not working for them because there are a lot of parameters around that, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Text to give and mobile first donations, we've seen that kind of rising over the last few years. In this next year, you're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to see obviously folks are continuing to use their phones and mobile devices more and more. This does not take away from desktop users, but we're starting to see a lot of options that are exclusively for mobile devices, and some new ways to do that, like crypto and all that stuff. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. Authentic video storytelling. So we now have, in the past, doing video storytelling was really hard. If any of you guys have been around for, again, over 10, 15 years, you know that used to be a little bit of an obstacle, who was going to produce my video and who's going to host it, and stuff was really expensive to do. These days, a person with a phone can shoot a video in their driveway or on a morning walk, and it'll get 1 million views. So what we're starting to see is people are looking for authentic storytelling, not necessarily polished productions, but just making sure that they're consistently telling the stories about what they do, what the outcomes are for their nonprofit. Monthly giving programs are continuing to be a growing trend, and in this next year, it's going to be super important. We're seeing that there's a lot of monthly stuff that people are paying. There's a lot of money that's kind of going out of our pockets every day. Really anchoring folks in to your giving program is going to be super important. As a matter of fact, I'm part of an organization right now that, after 20 years, is still struggling to implement a monthly giving program, and that's one of the things that I'm a huge advocate of, getting that monthly giving program in so we don't have to raise that money every year. That same money, go to that same person every year. Let's just get it from them a little bit every month so we can secure that funding. And then finally, AI search optimization, a huge deal. So we've heard about SEO, right? Search engine optimization. What we're seeing in 2026 is folks shifting their focus not away from SEO, but to include what's called AEO, or AI engine optimization. What that means is that people want to be found, right? When someone asks ChatGPT, where can I volunteer in my area? You want to come up. When somebody asks about a food bank in their area, food banks want to come up. And so we want to make sure that we're giving AI all the juicy content it needs to know to recommend us. Put a one in the chat there if any of this is resonating with you. Have you heard any of this stuff? Yes, heck yeah. Well, as if this is not all enough, let me go a little bit deeper. Let's not forget about some other trends. We've got, the audience ownership. People are looking not just for service vendors, they're looking for growth partners who will really kind of own the project with them, own the growth of the organization. We're not just looking for a hosting company. We're not just looking for another marketing company. We're looking for someone who's going to walk with us to help us to grow, to help us to align our email, SMS strategies, implement the right CRM. So many executive directors and leaders are kind of stuck in the minutia of this stuff. And if any of you have used volunteers to implement infrastructure, you know what I'm talking about. Every few years, it's like you got to change it because the volunteer that came in, you thought they knew what they were doing, but they didn't quite know what they were doing. So you had to get somebody else, and then hopefully they knew what they were doing. Anybody else experience that? It's really like a trend in the nonprofit world. You've got 5 different volunteers, 5 different websites in the last 6 months. Also, to proving impact with clarity. Transparency is becoming really, really important in the nonprofit world. Now, that's always been the case, but because we're now seeing this in the financial industry, we're seeing this in even the political climate, we're looking for clarity and transparency because things aren't quite as believable as they were before. People want to know that what you're doing is real, the impact that you have is real, and where their money is going is real. So we want to make sure that we're able to prove that to folks. Designing connected journeys. So now just, kind of letting donors and supporters just kind of come into the fold and wander around. We're finding that's not as productive, and it's not as organization building as pre-planning what that journey looks like. So when somebody comes into a donor relationship or a volunteer relationship with my organization, what are the steps? What's the journey that I want them to go in? This is really probably most tangible for churches, right? Folks come in, you have a person who inquired about the church, a person who does their first time visit, then you have a recurring visit, then you might have some sort of assimilation process. There's a path there, and making sure that you do that, you design that path consciously. You just not let them wander and figure it out, but that you understand each step so that you can track who's in each step and help get them to the next step. And this is going to go, this is a recurring theme of today's session, is going to be in pre-planning your milestones. Well, this is about pre-planning your constituent milestones, right? From inquiry to information, to maybe a first-time gift, to maybe a phone call, to maybe a coffee meeting. These are the things that you need to plan so that you can put people in these buckets and figure out how to get them to the next bucket. Community-led growth. We're starting to see that supporters are becoming more and more ambassadors. Now everyone with a phone, everyone with a social media account can be an ambassador. They can do a quick video and again, get a million views. Now with the algorithms on social media, with the algorithms on all of the types of announcement marketing that we can do, we're starting to see that it's focused on people who are interested, not necessarily people who are following you, which is really good news. Cause-based personalization. So we're looking at instead of targeting age and income and all the old demographics that we would normally target, which are still a consideration, but now we're looking at motivation. What are people interested in? What are they passionate about? What are they motivated by? And tailoring our messaging and our marketing in that direction. Now, finally on here, frictionless experiences across channels. What we want to make sure is that we're reflecting our message and we're reflecting the same steps, the same path on all of our channels, on our website, on our written materials, on our mail outs, on our social media. We want to create one unified plan that then gets expressed out in multiple ways. And that has tremendous implications on this process. It means that a person can move seamlessly from social media to your website to a conversation with you, and all of it feels the same. It's all moving them in the same direction. This goes back to that whole designing connected journeys. If you know your constituent journey, then you know how to lead them every step of the way. Comment with a thumbs up or a yes with an exclamation point, or a 1 if you understand what we're talking about here and if it resonates with your nonprofit. Yeah. All right, guys. I want to talk a little bit about crypto because this is a question that comes up a lot. I got this question just the other day. What about it? I'm going to tell you, crypto is a really big deal. Some of you guys have maybe some Bitcoin. Maybe your organization's got a wallet. But I'm going to tell you that right now it is relevant, but it's not required for most nonprofits. Most of you don't have to worry about crypto right now. Now, those are sometimes famous last words by technologists, right? It's not relevant now. Well, it is relevant, but it's not an emergency. So don't worry too much about the incorporation of crypto or crypto giving unless you have donors who are clamoring for it. And this is more of a need in areas of the country, most likely in out on the West Coast, where folks, Silicon Valley folks that are really into crypto giving. But in most parts of the world right now, crypto is still emerging. It's an option. It's not a full strategy. There is no nailed down crypto strategy for nonprofits, because there isn't a nailed down crypto strategy for anyone. Everyone's still trying to kind of figure it out, and the markets are up and down, as those who are invested in crypto like myself know. So there's don't worry too much about it. Nonprofits should be prepared for the future of crypto, but don't be pressured by it. It is limited, but we have some growing adoption. But you got to make sure that you really build the solid foundation of everything else first. Transparency, reporting, regulatory clarity is much more important than a novelty of crypto. And you want to make sure that you're really focused on the fundamentals of marketing. Crypto will be great whipped cream on top of the sundae, and in the future may be very, very important. But today, you're still good if you're not doing crypto for your organization. And here's my advice in general, and this is Bill Drayton's advice actually, but the first step to becoming a change maker is to give oneself permission to ignore, politely of course, all those who say don't do it. So what I just said to you, if you want to pursue crypto in your organization, do it. If you want to pursue a brand new idea for fundraising or for getting volunteers in the pipeline, do it. Go ahead and do it. Some of those ideas that seem wild, that seem like they're not going to work, seem like the world's not ready for them, really do work in some settings. So feel free to implement things, but don't do it yet at the sacrifice of the fundamentals. All right, let's talk about current snapshots. Everybody doing good? Everybody feeling good? Is the energy good here? Give me a yes in the comments. Are you guys still following with me? I want to make sure that we're connecting here and we're talking the same language. Rachel, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, Maria, thank you. All right, so let's talk about the current snapshot. And this is something that the workbook is going to take you through. It's going to take you through creating kind of where you are today and then where you want to be. And, I want to give you just some philanthropy.com basic metrics here. This is going to give you some averages across the country so that you get a good idea of what other nonprofits are doing. And these, if you're doing less than this, it's okay. If you're doing more than this, congratulations. But I want to make sure that you understand that, a lot of times we think that I get this a lot, folks come to us and they say, I'm a nonprofit, we don't have a lot of money. In some cases, they'll say, we have a nonprofit, we have no money. And my response is, then you don't have a nonprofit. You have an idea, you have something you want to do, but you got to go raise money. You got to create that funding mechanism for your nonprofit before you really are a serious nonprofit. And here's why. These are the average metrics around the country, right? Annual funds raised. The average nonprofit's doing 452,000. Now, remember, this is an average that includes nonprofits that are doing nothing and some of them that are doing 10 to 15 to 20 million a year, right? So you've got an average here, and sure, there's no weighting here, but it's important to know that there is money. There is money out there, all right? There are about 1.5 million nonprofits in the U.S. alone. And this is about the average that they do between all of them. Donor retention rates. What's your donor retention rate? Well, the benchmark is 68%. Are you keeping your donors? This is a good number to try to understand. If you're doing less than this, that means you're doing less than the average. There's something that needs to change. If you're doing more than this, that means you're doing great. So these are great numbers that'll give you a little bit of a benchmark, a little bit of an idea. Now, obviously, across segments, right? Nonprofits encompass a lot of different types of efforts, and so these metrics may change between industry, but in general, this is what we're looking at. So 8,921 active donors. We're talking about recurring donations of 1.2 thousand dollars a year. We're talking about an average gift of only $82. Hey, don't get upset if you don't get that $1,000 donation. The average gift in America is $82. So if you're getting $100 from your donors, you're doing great. Now you just got to get more recurring, right? And more active donors in there. Website visitors a month. The average nonprofit does about 27,000 visitors a month. And their email list size is about 16,000. All right. That number is pretty staggering for some of you. And for some of you, you have maybe tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. We have clients that have millions of people on their list. And a social media audience, average is 30,000. All right. So if you got 1,000, great start. It's time to kind of amp it up. If you got 100,000, hey, congratulations. Share what you're doing so you can pull other nonprofits up. All right. So anybody surprised by any of these stats? Comment in the chat there if you're surprised, and tell me also if you're not surprised. Tell me if you're not surprised by this. This sounds like what you expected. What do you think, guys? Was this about what you expected, or is it kind of new to you? Yeah, not surprised. Yeah, good. And those of you that have been really doing your homework, you'll know that there's a lot more. There's a lot more benchmark that you can look at, and this information's out there. So make sure that you look for your industry, your specific industry, and see what the benchmarks are. There's benchmarks for everything from charities to churches. All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, guys. So the next question that I'm going to ask you is, and I want you to really internalize this. Those of you that got the workbook early, you were able to kind of, flesh some of this out and get maybe some clarity. But what are your goals for 2026? What are your annual fundraising goals, your membership goals, your volunteer goals? What's the goal in terms of community impact, which could be a little bit esoteric. It could be a little bit wide. It could be more conceptual. What are your regional global awareness goals? If you're local, do you want to get known more in your local area? And what does that exactly look like? You guys, the clearer we can get, the closer we can get. And this is so important. Setting project goals, setting milestones for yourself and for your teams, it's going to be super important for 2026. Setting clear, ambitious targets is the first step to achieving massive growth. And taking a moment to reflect on what the goal would mean for your organization and the impact it would create. So think about that. Think about the goals that you have and think about what happens if you get there. What does it look like? What does your organization look like? How is your community impacted by you reaching those goals? And then if you don't see enough impact, raise the goal, change the goal, but you want to make sure that you're moving the needle in some way. Let's talk a little bit about breaking the goal down. So let's say that your annual goal is 500,000, which is divided into about $41,667 a month. We want to look at an average gift size. This is a question I asked an organization the other day, and I asked it to the fundraising committee, and they couldn't answer this question. And that's a huge red flag. You want to make sure that you know what your average gift is. Just put a little one on the chat there. If you know right top of your head, you know exactly what your average gift size is. Because if you do, you're in the minority of the nonprofits that I talk to. Many of them don't know what the average gift size is. Some of them have never had a real gift yet, and some of them don't have quite the metrics or the systems to collect and figure that data out. But you need to know what your average gift size is so that you could know how to plan. So if let's say we have the average gift size is 150, that means to reach our goal, we need 3,333 donations per year. All right. That's monthly 278 donations. You see how we're breaking this down, right? So that's good. So we're going to go out, we're going to try to get 278 donations. What does that mean in reality? That if we just look at this number, we're looking still at a pretend number. We're still only looking at something that in the best case can come true. We have to look at what reality is. And reality is that not everybody that we ask for a donation will give one. And not everybody that we ask for one will give us 150. Some people will give more, which really pushes us forward a little bit faster. But if our average gift size right now is 150, chances are they're going to hit that target. We need to figure out, though, what percentage of the people that we talk to are actually giving. So let's look at the third square here. If we need 278 donations, and let's just say that 5% of the people that we ask for the donation give it, that means we need to ask for 5,560 donations a month. I want you to really internalize that. Now, maybe your conversion stats are different. Maybe you've got a 10% rate. Maybe you got a 20% rate. Or worse, maybe you don't know your rate because you haven't been tracking this. Then this is going to become a bit of an exercise for you. You got to figure it out. Out of 10 people, how many give? Out of 20 people, how many actually give? In this scenario, a 5% conversion rate, you need to ask for 5,560 people for donations. And the formula here, I gave it to you there. So now that you know exactly how many prospects you need to reach your goal, the next step is to actually put yourself in a situation where you can ask that many times. And so this is how these goals break down. If you've never gone through the exercise of doing this, right? A lot of people say, we want to raise $1 million. We hope to get $1 million grant. That's not really a plan unless you have got the grant in the bag. I know an organization that gets an annual grant from their city, and they pretty much can count on it like clockwork. Every year they get $500,000. That's phenomenal. How many of you guys are funded at all by grants? Anybody here funded by grants? Say yes or no. Let me know if you're funded by grants. Anybody? Even partially? Any grants coming in? Yeah, sometimes, Rachel. For many organizations, they've never had a grant, right? You never hired a grant writer. You've never tried to do it yourself, right? So these big gifts are hard to get. and or maybe you've never gotten them. And then also those big givers, right? Your top givers, your big your rich guys that come in love to see what you're doing, and they're going to just dump a bunch of money. That those just don't happen very often. Some of you guys have some of those people, as part of your giving pool, but the reality is for most of us we don't. So we've got to create these types of divided targets. We have to say, okay, if our goal is $1 million, then what does this actually divide out based on our current numbers? If we don't know our numbers, we need to figure them out. Now, one of the things that we did for you guys, this was actually a bonus, and we decided to do here last minute. We said, what if we can create a planning system for you to figure this out? Well, what if it just figured it out for you? You plugged in the numbers, plugged in your current numbers, and plugged in what your target numbers are. And what if it came up with that budget? What if it told you how much you had to spend in order to get to where you need to get to, what you had to do, and how you can allocate your funds to best utilize that money that you're investing and the money that's coming in? Well, we did it. We created tools, and we got one. Guys, we got one for the nonprofits and one specifically for churches, because the model's a little bit different there. You've got a membership model. So I want you to just, if you haven't, by the way, these links are in that workbook, but I want to put it up here for you. You could take a picture of it with your phone if you want and go to it next. But this is a free tool we created for you. This is a huge deal. Jump over to these when you get done with the webinar. Put a little one in the chat if you really appreciate this. If you think you'll be able to use this, this is going to allow you to plug in your current numbers, your goals, and then it's going to work everything backwards for you and actually tell you what your marketing budget should be. It'll allow you to put in all the different percentages of what you're going to allot to different funds, and it's then going to create an annual budget for you. Okay, now this may not be as granular as what your normal budget looks like, but it's going to at least get you in that ballpark so that you can plug it into your annual numbers. Some of you guys have January board meetings. You can actually use this to help you get to the front of your task line there. All right, plan for growth in 2026. Okay, you got to stop guessing. You got to get serious about that mission. You got to get serious about getting clarity. Nonprofits aren't failing because they don't know what they're doing and they're not passionate. It's just because they're not clear about the goals, and so don't have a direction to go. It's kind of like we're just shooting in the dark. All right. So when you get a chance, those are the tools. nonprofitmarketingcenter.com/tools, and then nonprofits is just NBP. For churches, it's CBP. And that'll take you right there to the calculator. And I'm sure that you'll have fun playing with that thing. I definitely did when the team finished it. So greatness is not a function of circumstance. Greatness, as it turns out, is largely a matter of conscious choice and discipline. All right, guys, so we want to be great. We want our organizations to be great, but that's not going to happen by accident. It's not going to happen because just, one day the coin flipped your way. It's going to be because we planned, because we made a choice, and those series of conscious choices and disciplined choices are what are going to create the success that we're looking for. All right, let's go right into the plan. All right, now we did all that initial work. Everybody excited about that? We finished all that stuff. Did you get some value from that first part there? Because we're about to now go down the slide. Are you guys ready for this? This is going to be really good, and this is going to it's going to inspire you, hopefully, and it's going to give you a good roadmap to getting the results you're looking for. All right. And I wanted to give you something that you could just immediately start implementing. You can start doing. If you need our help, great, but you can also do this on your own if you choose to do so. If you have some folks internally, you can tackle that project. And let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. So this year, our goal, we work with thousands of nonprofits every year. And one of the things that this year, it just seemed like more than ever, we got that question of, is there a unified system? Is there a way that I can see all of this working? Because I'm hearing all this stuff about social media. I'm hearing all this stuff about search engines, my website. Do I change the homepage? Where do I put my donor button? All this stuff. Is there a cohesive framework, a way to look at this that is understandable to me as a leader of a nonprofit, that then I can break down? Because I know that everybody here is smart enough to be able to take a concept and then break it down to what it means for you. And so what I wanted to do was give you that concept. I'm going to give you some of the breakdown as well. And then I know that immediately You're going to see the value. And what I ask is that you see yourself in this process. I want you to, as we go through this, I want you to envision your nonprofit in this process and what it means and what it means you have to do. So what we created this year was what we call the impact growth engine. And there are three phases to this growth engine. There's the engagement stage, cultivation, and activation. And we're going to look at how these things kind of cycle into each other. But in the engagement phase, what we're looking at, we're focusing on visibility, traffic, and discoverability. And we're doing that. We're trying to get those potential donors and supporters, right? Those potential advocates. And we're doing it through SEO, AEO, which is the AI version of that, and pay-per-click advertising, all really focused on getting people to the website. In the next stage, cultivation is about nurturing those relationships, right? So some of you guys already have people who are potential donors and supporters. Now you're kind of in the cultivation stage with them, but you still need more engagement, right? We need to get more of those people. In the cultivation stage, we're nurturing, we're relationship building, and we're doing this by repetition, right? We're building trust, we're deepening the connection, and we're doing that through social media and content marketing. Now, a lot of you guys, you're doing those random social posts, right? You're doing drive-by marketing is what we call it. Yeah, I saw today I was looking at somebody's social media page who inquired about what they can do to make social better, and the last time they posted was February of this year. So I know a lot of you guys' Facebook page kind of looks like that. Comment in the chat if that's you, if you're brave enough to admit it. But social is kind of a drive-by thing, and then content marketing. When I say the phrase content marketing, for some of you just wonder, well, what does that entail? What is that? Or you kind of sigh knowing that that's a lot of work. Content marketing is all about coming up with new content, getting it out there. But that's how you're going to cultivate your relationships. You're going to show them, you're going to build authority, you're going to build credibility, you're going to tell the stories. And in the final phase, it's activation. This is where you focus on converting those relationships, getting them to participate, getting them to make financial commitments, right? We're turning supporters into donors and advocates, and we're doing that through email marketing and in very, very close reporting. Now, some people say, well, is email marketing the only way to activate? No, you can do that through social, through content, through SEO, through PPC, but because those tracks are already laid, email becomes your call to action. And we're going to talk a little bit about email in a second, but it's very important. And not only are you doing those outreaches, some of you guys, you're doing a lot of social, or you're doing very little social, and you're doing no email. And that is one of the worst things you can do. Email is still king, believe it or not. I know what they say. I know what you do to your emails. I do the same thing. But email still gets the message out. Many of you guys got my email about coming here. You got the link from email, and you're going to download that workbook by email. So make sure that you're implementing those specific things. And again, what I want to do here is not just tell you, hey, make sure you SEO, make sure you social media market. I want to put them into these buckets so that you understand what needs to be done in each of these, right? So for SEO and PPC and website, you're focused on engaging people. And we're going to talk about how to do that in a second. For social media and content, we're looking to cultivate those relationships, to cultivate the trust of people who are engaging with you. And then in the activate through email marketing, because we've paved the road, we use email, and then we closely report on all of these items so that we understand how to do the manual asks. Because how many know that you still got to make phone calls? Anybody still making phone calls? If you're not making those phone calls, you're not getting those donations. So make sure SMS, email, phone, right? I always tell people call, text, email, call, text, email. That's how you deal with opportunities and leads. Type a 1 in the chat there if that is resonating with you. You understand what I'm talking about. You guys still with me? You connected? You engaged? I don't want to lose you here, okay? All right, let's move on. So we're going to jump in here to understanding how this looks. Okay, this is your nonprofit. This is you and your nonprofit. You're in the middle there, and you got this swirl of stuff that's around you. How many of you guys feel the pressure of all these things, right? Hope and care and making sure that your organization's giving and making sure that people are giving, and you're trying to establish community, and you're trying to create this culture of generosity, and there's the financing. And I talked to an organization just yesterday, found out that somebody dropped some fiscal responsibility, and now their 501c3 is in danger, All these things are just swirling around you constantly, and it is overwhelming, Daniel. It is. And this is what it kind of feels like right here. There's just this circle of stuff, right? And it kind of circling you, like sometimes it feels like you're getting circled by wolves, right? And you took this on. You decided to make an impact in this world, and you took all this on, but it doesn't make it any easier. Well, I want to start addressing this. I want to come around, I want to come alongside of you, and we're going to talk about how to divide these things so we can really conquer what we're doing. All right. Let's talk a little bit about these three pieces. You've got the problem, the prescription, and you've got participation. So this is how you break apart your organization. All those things swirling around you, you're going to pull them apart into these buckets. The first one is the problem. What is the problem, the issue, the cause that your organization exists to solve, address, or just serve? All right. What's the problem that you're doing this with? I want you to really get clear on that, because sometimes we create these nonprofit organizations, they're really nebulous. Churches are really good at this, right? We're just here to serve the community. Well, what specifically? Why? What's the specific problem, right? Now we understand that there are some evangelical goals there. For nonprofits, we might have some very practical goals like feeding the poor. We might have some very very large overarching goals. But what is the specific problem that your organization exists to uniquely address? The prescription, which is the bottom piece here, this is what you're prescribing as the medicine for that. Okay, that's why we call it a prescription. What are the services and the programs that you're proposing actually address, solve, or serve that issue or problem or cause? All right. Your prescription has to make sense, guys. Your programs, it's not just for the sake of creating programs. So one of the mistakes a lot of nonprofits make is they make programs that sound like a good idea to the founder, not that serve the problem. And so make sure you're constantly assessing that. Am I creating a good mix, a full mix that is our prescription? This is, if you were a doctor, and some of you might be on this call, if you were a doctor, what's the regimen that you would prescribe to this particular disease? And that's your prescription, all right? Though your programs and services are your prescription to solving the problem. And then the third part is, how do people participate in helping you to implement that prescription? That's it, guys. All that swirl of stuff you can pull out into those three pieces. What's the problem? What's the prescription? And how do people participate? Now, some of you might think, well, where's governance in this, right? Where's governance and management? That's actually in the participation stage. That in the participation stage is where you recruit not just volunteers and donors, but you recruit your board members, you recruit staff. All of that happens through participation. And you bring people in to help you. Rachel asked, should we be seeing something other than the circle graphic? You should. You should see a circle graphic with these little gray words around it. Do you see that, Rachel? The three gray words? So you'll see problem. Okay, yeah, there you go. So problem, prescription, and participation. And right, to speak to Rachel's question, we're going to the next one. Let me explain how this fits into that three-tier, the three-bucket model that I just showed you. The problem is what helps people engage with you. All right. So if my organization exists to feed the hungry, then talking about or presenting the problem, the issue of hunger, maybe it's child hunger, maybe it's single mother poverty, maybe it's something very specific that you are trying to engage. This is how you engage with the community. All right. It's talking about that with your community, or attracting a community, building community based on those who are most concerned about that problem. Remember, we talked a little bit earlier about how donor profiles are shifting from age and demographic information to who's really worried about this, right? Who's really passionate about the problem that you want to serve. And that's the engagement attachment that you have. So some of you guys, you try to engage a little bit too much on the prescription, right? Here's all the stuff we're doing, but you're not really explaining why. Like, why? The most passionate people that you have are going to be people who are engaged in the actual cause, the actual issue that you're trying to address. All right. So engagement comes in through that problem, issue, or cause that you're serving. Your prescription does is it creates your cultivation method. When you're talking about your programs, your services, when you're sharing the stories that come back from the implementation of the prescription. If some of you guys don't have case studies, stories, testimonials, you need to go out and get some, because if you don't have it, you don't have any proof. Now, it could be that you're doing great work, but if you don't have those things, you're not collecting those things consciously, then you're not actually proving that your prescription, that your plan actually works. All right, put a little one on here if you feel like you might need to go out and get some stories, testimonials, and some case studies, right, to be able to prove that what you're doing is working. And that's how you're going to engage. You're going to cultivate those relationships. In the last stage, the participation element, this is where you activate your donors, volunteers, and supporters, right? You do that through your participation elements. What does participation means? It means you've got to have active and visible ways that people can connect. So for some of you guys, you're talking about the problem, you're telling people about your programs and services, and then you have a donate button. Right? That's not a full engagement, a participation strategy. You've got to make it very clear to people that these are the ways these are the channels of engagement, right? For some of you, it's donations. Some of you it's becoming a volunteer. For some of you, it's becoming an advocate. For some of you, it's sharing our stories on social media. All right. So you've got to, part of this, and this is why I want to pull this apart. I want to take that swirl of stuff and pull it into three buckets, because if you can focus on accurately engaging people with the problem, cultivating people through your services and programs, right? And then you can create very clear channels of participation, then this game is won. If you can do that in a very clear way and create channels and donor journeys that take people into this and take people through this, then you're going to win in 2026. Now, what we did was we created a cycle here. And this is why we call this the growth engine. This is the wheel that runs. You start with engagement, creating visibility, traffic, and discoverability. Then you cultivate, you nurture, relationship build. And you do this through repetition in your prescription cycle. And then it comes back up, convert, participate, financial commitments in the activation stage. And then we pull people back in. So part of the cultivation, the activation stage, is that it's intended not only to get commitments from people, but also to get people invested in what you're doing so that they can help increase that visibility, traffic, and discovery. Does this make sense to anyone? Right? This is the full wheel here. So you've got engagement, cultivation, activation, spinning and feeding back into each other. This is what we call a feedback loop. And you need this loop to keep things going. If you don't, then what you have is a straight line. And when you get to the end of that line, you have to go all the way back to the beginning and start over. Some of you guys are doing that with your donors, with your volunteers. There's no wheel. There's no ongoing process. There's no mechanism here. It's not really a circular plan. It's a linear plan that when you get to the end of, it's like you got to start all over. And so many nonprofits do that. You'll raise all your money, and the next year you got to do it all over again. And it really is, it makes it so things aren't as predictable as you need them to be. And this is the nonprofit impact growth engine. This is a proven pathway. And if you notice what we did on the outside of these things, in color code, I showed you where the corresponding digital marketing pieces are. So it starts at the top with your website, right? That's really the foundation. That's your portal. That's a thing you own, right? You don't own Facebook. Facebook can cut off your page at any time. Your website is the presentation that you own. It's the journey that you own. And then you'll see SEO and PPC, so that's paid advertising. That's going to create your engagement strategy. Comes back around with social media and content marketing to help cultivate those relationships. Email marketing is going to go ahead and get those asks out there, along with the other pieces as well. And then at the end, we want to make sure that we're doing reporting. And we'll get to a little bit about what specific reporting we're going to need to validate, so that way, when we get back to the top of the circle, we can make the changes that we need to the rest of the process. And it starts with the website, it radiates down. Okay. A lot of people, you're doing a lot of stuff on social media, which is down at the bottom, and you're skipping the website side of it, which means that you're not able to take advantage of SEO or PPC advertising properly. And some of you guys are missing that entire chunk. So you're not getting the engagement that you need. You're just really talking to the same people all the time. Anybody experiencing that in your social media presence? You're just talking to the same people all the time? Or even worse, 5% of the people that are following you, or 2% of your list is really listening or engaging. That's because you're focused on that bottom part and you're really not starting at the website first and radiating down. Okay. Let's go right into some of these things. Let's talk about specifically engagement. I told you today is going to be packed. It's going to be packed with value, and there's going to be a clear path here, guys. I did not skimp in this. I'm not taking shortcuts. I'm not making this a short little sales pitch. There is no pitch. This is the content you need to seriously get 2026 into gear. And I want to make sure that you have everything you need to be armed. Everybody appreciate that? Am I getting any level of excitement here over what we're about to go through? Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. All right. So let's go right into this. Engagement. Get discovered. This is where we focus on website optimization, SEO and AEO optimization, and Google, Bing, and Meta. All right. So we're looking at the first, how do we engage with people? How do we connect with them? Because if we don't connect with them, you can't ever do the ask. You can't ever share the stories. Let's go right into we're going to go into the website part of it. So 5 pillars of a nonprofit website. Now, the first thing I want to tell you before we go into this is most of your websites are completely missing the mark because of just so much stuff on there that doesn't make sense to accomplishing your goal. It's a bunch of stuff that you wanted to tell people, but not the people actually want to know. And I say that with all the love and all the delicacy I can, but at the same time being very honest with you because I love you. I want to make sure you know that your website does not have to be complicated. It doesn't need a complicated architecture. It doesn't need the latest fly-in, animation. And for God's sake, it does not need an 18-year-old managing it. You need a serious website. This is your worldwide presence to the world. It's representing your mission, and it needs to do that with excellence. Now, excellence, again, does not mean you need to adopt the latest design standards that tomorrow are out of style. What it means is that you need 5 pillars. You need to focus on 5 specific things. And honestly, you have to question if anything's not one of these 5 things, why is it on your site? All right. The first thing is focus on the problem. The problem or issue or cause your nonprofit solves, addresses, and supports. Tell the world what the problem is. All right. By the way, if you're a church, there's still a problem. You're in the community you're in, you're serving the people you're in, the vertical you're in, you started this church for a specific reason. That's the problem, right? That's the issue, that's the cause, that's the purpose. That you could substitute problem with purpose, okay? And it's the reason why you exist. The prescription, the programs and services and resources your nonprofit uses to address the problem, and then participation, all the ways that people, businesses, and institutions can help you implement your prescription. Now, those 3 things alone, that's the basic core 3. The other 2 are meant to support that. So people, right? Who's the team, right? Because everybody wants to know that. Okay, you did a great job. You told us about the problem. You have a great plan to solve it, and you have a great way. You have ways for me to participate. Well, who are you, right? So the people, talk about the people, and you don't have to go crazy in this section. We just really want to know. I don't know if any of you guys on this have ever funded something or have ever made a grant decision, have ever overseen a process where you're making a decision on an organization help. And what you'll see many times is that the problem, prescription, participation, might be very heavy in the proposal, and then you'll have a very small little portion about the people, right? Maybe it's just one founder, and they don't really pay attention to telling you the story there. Or maybe it's the other way, right? They tell you a bunch about themselves, way too much, more than what you wanted to know, and then very little about the other pieces. Give these the attention they deserve. So for people, what you're looking to do is you're looking to establish authority. You're looking to say, these are the people involved, not just to put your volunteer's face on your website and make them feel good. That's not what the people section is meant for. It's not meant to just put your board up there so people know who they are. No one cares who they are unless there's a specific purpose that they serve on your board. And so you want to talk about, your board in general. What the mix-up is. If there's people there of importance, you want to make sure that you mention that. What you're trying to do is build the case that this is the team that can actually implement the prescription. All right, this is just like a business plan. If you were to go for funding, guys, you want to make sure that people know this is the team that can make it happen, and there needs to be confidence in that. Okay. And then lastly, the platform. For some of you guys, this doesn't apply because you don't have a way for people to engage with you online. There's not necessarily, it doesn't really lend itself to that. But for most of you, there is an opportunity for this, right? A way for people to go in, control their donations, maybe update their payment methods, maybe update their bio or their basic contact information. Whatever the platform is you're using for people to manage their own data, that's the platform part. And that is very important for most nonprofits. You've got to have a section in there where people can control their interactions with you. So people, prescription, participation, I'm sorry, problem, prescription, participation, people, and platform. If there's anything else on your website, then you have to ask yourself why it's there. Now, it doesn't mean it shouldn't be there, but you need to have a good reason. So one other one you might have on there is, an area for press releases or news, right? But you want to make sure that those things are auxiliary. They're not the main thrust of your website. Some people say, well, but people come to my website, my constituents come to my website, they want to see the latest news. Well, I have news for you. 95% of the traffic going to your website are people who have never been to your website before. So I want to just blow that away for a second. If people are coming back to your website, guess what they already know? Where on your website to go. They already know how to get to what they want to get to. So if you got a clear donate button, you have a clear updates button, they know to click on that. Your homepage should focus on new people. And by the way, churches, this is even more the case. 99% of your traffic is new people. Your website should almost completely focus on new visitors and should only have a small section for the returning visitors, because church people normally don't go back to their own church's website except to get directions to the event or something, okay, or to give. So these are the pillars of your nonprofit website. Let's talk now about SEO. By the way, did any of that help anyone? Did this simplify anything for you? Did it help you to reevaluate maybe what you're doing? Just say yes in the chat if that's you. Let me know that this is of value to you. It helps you consolidate. We're trying to get rid of all that swirling mess, right? All right, we're going to move on to SEO and PPC. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, right? It's the art and the science of getting you higher in the search engines when something that's searched should have you in the results. PPC is pay per click. That's advertising that you do, paid advertising on the internet. And these are the cornerstones of visibility. When you build a website, it's like building a shack in the middle of the woods, and there's no road to it. SEO and PPC basically create both the roads and the airdrops to your place, all right? So a few little pieces to this. There's search engine positioning, understanding how to position yourself in the search engines and how to be found in places where you should be found, right? So we don't just want to show up when somebody types our name in. That's not really search engine optimization. It just means Google listed you. What we want to be found is under, food banks in Tampa, right? So we want to be found under there if we're a food bank, churches in, Indiana, or more specifically, Indianapolis, right? So we want to make sure that we're found under the right search terms, and we want to figure out what those search terms are. Content creates context. So the more content that you create on your website that addresses questions, and we're going to get to that in a little bit, but addresses questions and concerns, that gives people answers to things, and also provides them with the resources they need, that's going to create the context for your SEO. Okay, so search engines will not just rank you because you want to. They don't just rank you because you use a certain phrase anymore. What they do is they rank you based on the usefulness of your website and the way that it answers questions that are asked. Technical, offsite, and reputation. These are all pieces of the SEO puzzle, making sure the technicals are right, that we're using the right H1 tags and that we're using alt tags for our images, all the geek stuff, the offsite stuff where we're talking on social media, we're on Reddit, we're on all those other websites that might mention us, and then reputation management, making sure that we're getting reviews and that people are talking about our organization so that the search engines understand that we're important and they know to recommend us. Now, with PPC, you get a little bit of a fast track, all right? So search engine positioning takes time. You make your changes on your website and then you wait. You wait till Google reindexes you, you wait to see where you land, and then you rinse and repeat. With pay-per-click, we can start traffic for you in an hour, right? So we start paying for that traffic. We launch targeted campaigns to get the message in front of a ready-to-act audience right away. And that's whether you're doing PPC with Google or Bing, or whether you're doing it with Facebook, Meta, with that whole universe there. There's other networks as well. LinkedIn has one. YouTube has pay-per-click advertising. So this is a really fast way that you can literally say, I want to pay to get the traffic now. Testing and scaling, making sure that you're constantly refining your ads, refining your keywords and audiences to improve results and scale what works. And then finally, making sure that you measure and track your conversions. It isn't enough that we're driving the traffic. We need to know, what is that traffic doing? Is this even worth it? If I'm spending $1,000 a month on Google Ads, are they actually bringing us donations? Are they actually accomplishing the goal that they should be accomplishing? So this is really important, having all these things in mind as you choose between strategies and you choose what to implement. This is important to understand. G. Stazek said, great presentation. Will the video be available post-webinar? I need to run. Yes, I'll go ahead and send that to you when we're done, okay? All right, so let's talk about AI. Okay, there's a little bit of a shift to AEO. And Mary, I totally understand if you're in and out. That's okay. AI is quickly becoming the way that people search for answers, and for good reasons, right? We can just ask a question and get a summary that might come from multiple sites. Why just focus on one set of results from Google? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're staying visible when search engines start answering questions directly. And this is what's happening. You're now starting to see that search engines are integrating AI. So when you ask a question on Google, you'll get the results that you normally get, but on top of it, you'll get Google's AI that's answering the question, trying to answer the question for you. So search is no longer just about rankings, it's about being the answer. So from SEO to AEO, we're looking at from keywords, now we're looking at how do we answer and include questions that people are asking on our website. From pages, right, we just have pages that we're ranking. Now, how do our answers rank? Do we become the authority in that field? Instead of rankings, now we're looking for visibility in the AI summaries. And from traffic only, we're looking now at trust and authority. I had a call from a prospective client that called me up. He said, listen, I called you up because I asked Google a specific question or ChatGPT a specific question. It said you were one of the 3 firms in the area that specializes in that. So I believe it, and I decided to call you, and we're doing business together. So you understand how important that is. It's important to make sure that you're becoming a resource. AI-powered tools now summarize results instead of listing them. So instead of getting 10 websites, it just says, here, listen, here's the answer according to, and it'll give you kind of the references to those sites. But if AI can't understand your message, it can't recommend you. For some of you guys, you have a really convoluted site. It doesn't really answer questions, right? You're just doing a bunch of announcements and, maybe you've got disparate information throughout the site and there are no real answers to questions. There's no content that's helpful to recommend to people. And so start thinking about that. And by the way, when you improve AEO, you're going to naturally improve SEO. You're going to start getting ranked higher on Google just because you're becoming a better resource of information. So if somebody's looking for, let's say, a church in Tampa, or they're looking for a food bank in Tampa, having a page on your website that addresses the fact that you're in Tampa, what you do, how you do it, all of that helps not only Google, but all the AI engines to understand that you're an important part of that mission and that initiative. AEO ensures your nonprofit's the answer when people ask, how can I help locally? Where can I donate safely? Who can help me with whatever the cause is or the problem is near me? So very important. Your mission has to be understood. The content has to be clear, structured, and factual. The organization must be seen as a trusted source, guys. The more you can do on your website and your web presence, your social media to really build that trust, the better you're going to be, the better AI is going to be able to recommend you. And visibility now happens before someone ever clicks. So they'll actually see, like, for example, if you type in, nonprofit marketing center at ChatGPT, it'll actually tell you about us straight from our website, not even taking you there yet. All right. So you'll get those answers first, and people get the opportunity to evaluate before they even visit your presentation. So that's very, very unique. A little more about AEO. This is how you can prepare. Okay, so 2026 is what we're talking about, how to do this in 2026. Publish question-based content, all right? So make sure FAQs are good, those are good, but also pages that address specific questions people have. And you can go to Google and start typing, and you'll see what people are actually searching for. This is not hard stuff. Go to Google, type in whatever the beginning of a question might be, and as you type, Google will show you what people are searching for. Use plain language and clear structure. Don't make it super complicated, guys. Be a good answer. Be the answer that you would want if you typed into a question into AI or to Google. Strengthen your authority or reputation signals. In other words, make sure that you're posting your stories, you're posting your links to other websites where your answers may be found, or your social media. Make sure that those are pointing back to you. And keep human storytelling at the center. Make sure that you're humanizing what you're doing. Don't make it so sterile. Some of your guys' pages are very they're very neutral, and they need to be drippy passionate, right? You need to talk about, well, not only how this relates to you and what you're passionate about, but how this has helped people, and what the substance is and the stories are behind what you do. Okay? Build authority and become the source of information. By the way, this is my biggest reason why I always recommend to nonprofit leaders to write a book. Write a book about what you do, because that's going to be a great authority builder. Write a book, publish it, go to Kindle Publishing. You can self-publish it yourself, put it right on Amazon, and it's going to allow you to be that voice, and also to express yourself and express your experience and present your solutions. It'll bring you donors, it'll bring you volunteers, it'll bring you supporters, little book sales too. All right, let's talk really quick about Google Ad Grants. I want to talk about this. There is $10,000 a month. It's available. The requirements are you got to have 501c3 status, a working website with substantial content. Make sure that you've got, it isn't just, a one-page website. You got to make sure you have SSL enabled, and you have to agree to Google's policies. You can promote your donation pages, volunteer signups, event registrations, newsletter subscriptions. You can promote your organization. This isn't a handicap program when it comes to that. However, there are guardrails, there are metrics you have to meet, certain click-through rates, and you can't use broad search terms. You have to be very focused in the search terms. So there's a lot of gotchas there. But some common mistakes to avoid is, not using it at all. Some people get the ad grant and they don't even use it, because they go into Google's interface and they freeze and they go, does anybody here have a Google grant? Can you comment in there? Just say yes if you have the Google grant, no if you don't, just so that we know. So Google grant, get it and use it. Also, poor keyword targeting, using targeting that's just way too broad. You're not being specific enough, and they'll ding you for that. Sending traffic to your homepage instead of specific landing pages. This is a common marketing faux pas. Don't send people from your marketing, for your paid marketing, to your homepage, because then they got to figure out where to go. What you want to do is create specific campaigns, pages that you're going to send people directly to, that speak and continue the conversation from the ads. And then finally, not tracking your conversions, not tracking how it's doing. Is it translating to anything? Are people subscribing? Are people donating? You want to make sure you're tracking that stuff so you know what it's worth to you. And by the way, if you don't do all this combination of things, that $10,000 a month, that is a cap. Very few organizations even come close to using the $10,000 a month. They're using less than $1,000 a month because they can't get enough traffic. And that's kind of the downside to this, is that, yeah, it sounds great, $10,000 a month, but when you start actually advertising, unless you do this very strategically, you won't be able to use those 10,000. But if you can unlock that, then you're going to get a lot of traffic and you're going to get a lot of conversions. All right. So if you're not using Google Grants yet, let's fix it. Go to google.com/grants, go apply. Okay. Doesn't cost you anything, guys. You don't need a pro to do this for you. Go to googlegrants.com and apply for the grant. All right, moving on. So we're out of the engagement stage. We're talking about the cultivation stage, where we're building the relationships. We have content marketing, we have content marketing engagement, we have social media, we have monthly donor retention, and donor lifetime value. Make sure that you are calculating your DLV very carefully. What is your donor lifetime value? If you've only been around for a year to 5 years, that might be something you're still developing. But if you've been around for 20 years, you should know what your lifetime value, donor value is. What, throughout the time that they're with you and they're giving, what is the average person, what is the monetary value, their donation value of that person? Let's go right into this. Content connects websites and social media. So content turns visibility into relationships. Guys, I cannot say enough. If you are not producing content on a regular basis, you're missing out on a whole lot, okay? You need to be creating website content that establishes credibility and authority, that answers questions clearly, that supports your SEO, AEO, and your conversions, that leads people into the things that you want them to do, and that serves as a long-term source of truth, right? As an organization, you're the expert in the problem. You're the expert in the prescription. And so we want to make sure that we're building a long-term source of, you're becoming a long-term source of truth for those things, right? What's the best way to solve this problem, and what's the problem to begin with? With social media content, you want it to reinforce your missions consistently, right? No last February post is your last post. You need a consistent support of your mission. Keep your organization visible over time. It drives conversation and community and brings people back to the website, right? One mistake I see people do is they're posting everything to their social media, but never driving them back to the site. Guys, again, that's actually the presentation you control. So be sure that you're driving people back there. One message, many formats, everywhere your audience is. All right. So you can repurpose your stuff. You don't have to do different things for your website than you do for social media. Do stuff for your website and then take pieces of it to post on social media consistently, driving them back to that one piece of content. Okay. A single piece of content can become a web article, a social post, a reel, an email update, an AI readable answer. It can be a lot of things. The goal isn't more content, it's more connected content. So connected content ensures every click, every view, every follow deepens a relationship with your organization. All right. Does this speak to anyone? Is anyone right now having trouble and trying to figure out like, oh, I got to do all this content. I have to figure out when to update my website or do my social media, but then you're never really getting to it. Well, this is kind of the shortcut to it is create long form pieces of content and slice them up into pieces. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about social media and a strategy that we're really advocating these days, and it's so effective. We call it the 180-day social media growth plan. And I'm going to give you a bonus right after this, by the way, right after this slide. The next slide, I'm going to give you a bonus. All right, so hang on. So growth doesn't come from viral posts, okay? Very few posts comparatively ever go viral. Viral means that it goes crazy, right? Millions of people are viewing it. Very few of those do. It's a very small percentage, minuscule percentage. Posting one piece of micro content each day keeps your organization present, familiar, and trusted. What we're looking for is not a million views. We're looking for 100 to 200 to 300 views, but consistently. So we're posting small pieces of content. And every time a few hundred people are seeing that overall adds up to thousands and thousands of views. And so for some of you, you have the potential millions of views. And you always have the chance that something really does go viral. One post a day, one clear message, no pressure to be perfect. You don't have to make these things perfect, guys. Just one post. Look into your camera, say something for the day. Consistency beats creativity when it comes to growth. You don't have to be super creative. You don't have to make it complicated. It doesn't have to be perfectly produced. It can literally be on your morning walk. You look into the camera, say a few things, post it. Don't think about it. A lot of you guys have seen Gary Vee talks about that. Just post it. Just get out there. Start doing it. Get off of here and go do it. This is true. You got to get out there and you got to start posting. And again, you're not looking for millions of views. You're just looking for a few hundred every day, maybe 60, maybe 70 in the beginning. But as you do it, you'll see with consistency, it works. Micro content keeps your mission visible while deeper content lives on your website and email. So we're just looking for small pieces, right? If we're talking about, let's say your organization focuses on 3 core problems. Every day, you're going to talk about one of those problems. And you're just going to talk about one aspect of it. A 30-second video, post it. Okay. What's micro content? It's short, simple, easy to produce. One idea per post, designed for feeds, for stories, and for reels. This is on all the major platforms. And it's reused from your existing content. So my suggestion is make long content. For example, this webinar is a long form piece of content that we can divide into pieces, right? Just this slide alone, I can make into micro content and talk about it for 30 seconds or show a 30-second clip from today's webinar. So think about doing that kind of a thing. You can create long form content and then you can slice it up, or you can just do 30-second content every day. Why 180-day matters though? It builds recognition through repetition. I challenge everyone, do this. Don't miss one day. Just do it for 180 days. And I promise you, the dynamics of engagement for you are going to change. And cultivation is going to be really easy. It trains the algorithm to surface your content. What you start getting is the algorithm starts seeing, the Facebook and YouTube and all that. It starts seeing that you're creating on a regular basis. And you know what it starts doing? It rewards you with a magnified audience, right? When I post regularly, I get 4 or 5 times the exposure simply because I'm doing it regularly. It creates consistency without burnout if you do really small pieces. So you don't have to do all these long productions every day, and allows momentum to compound over time. So look at this kind of like, you're doing curls, right? Every day. It's just one curl is all you got to do. One 30-second piece of content, that's all you need. Okay, what it looks like daily. It could be a quote, an insight, or a stat. It's a short video or photo, a mission reminder or update. It could also be a question or a call to action. All right, and there is a good formula to this. For every one ask, make sure you do 5 informational, educational, inspiring posts. So do a quote, do an insight, do a stat, post a story, and then maybe do an ask. Okay. All right, I promise you a bonus. I want you to take a picture of this with your phone if you could, okay? Or a screenshot if you're on your phone right now. I've created a 180-day authority building social media prompt plan for nonprofits and for churches. You got the address there. It is complicated. It's a complicated address because I did it last minute for you guys. Just take that picture so you can type it into your computer. This is going to give you a prompt for every day. In other words, it's going to say, here's the idea for today. Talk about it. Is this helpful to anybody? You think you'd do that? If I just ask you a question, or I just say, hey, talk about this today, do you think you could do that for 30 seconds on camera? Yeah, I got it mapped out for you for the next 180 days. All right, and I did it for nonprofits, did it for churches as well. All right, because your subject matter is a little different. So grab this, take this picture, and download this. This is 100% free. It's all for you. I told you today. It's all about value. Okay, let's move on. Activation. All right, now we've gone through engagement, we've gone through cultivation. We're going to talk about activation. The average open, you want to monitor your average open rates. You want to look through your click-through rates on email, which I actually argue is more important. Your donation conversion rates. Are people actually giving when you ask them to? And your monthly recurring donors. Guys, monthly recurring is where it's at. Do not have a plan without it. If you are not doing monthly recurring gifts for your organization, just stop what you're doing right now and just do that today. Do it today. Don't even wait to 2026. It's got to happen before Christmas. All right. I want to talk about email marketing. Email marketing does still work because it's the one audience that you truly own, right? Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, they own your audience. That's really their audience that they're kind of keeping track of for you. But email, these are the people that you are directly in relationship with. Why email still matters? It's direct access to your supporters. It's not controlled by social media. It builds long-term trust and familiarity if you're doing it consistently, guys, and supports fundraising, engagement, and events. Now, there's some things that have changed, right? We want to do fewer emails, but more relevant. So we don't want to do daily emails, right? It used to be that's what you would do, the daily emails, though there is a strategy for religious organizations that I'll share with you in a second that you might be able to adapt to nonprofits as well. Well, I know you can. But less emails, more relevant. So maybe once a week, once every 15 days, but they're jam-packed with value and information. You want to segment your messages instead of a one-size-fits-all. Maybe you have several different lists. Also, content-driven, not promotional blasts. You want to make sure that it's containing information of value, not just these promotional asks, which some of you guys, that's the only emails that you do. Integrated with your website, social, and ads. In other words, there's one unified flow. Your email is a continued conversation from what you have on your website, social, and ads. So you're doing them all at once. You're blasting everything, right? That story that you have, that success story, you post it to your website, post it on Facebook. You want to create it, you want to boost it into an ad, and you want to send it out by email all at once, and do a press release while you're at it. Combined with SMS, this is a great 1-2 punch, right? So if you're doing mass text messaging, be careful with it. Do it slowly, do it sparingly, but Make sure that you're using SMS somewhere incorporated in your strategy so that you can have those instant reminders. Usually reminders are the best thing. It's best for reminders, and it's best for calls to action that people have already committed to, right? Maybe a call to action to, hey, don't forget, to give that pledged amount, right, tomorrow. Algorithms change. Email remains direct, reliable, and personal. So SEO, socials, those things are all going to change based on what the powers that be decide. But email's there for you all the time. Still one of the most it's the highest performing digital channels for nonprofits when used intentionally. It turns attention into a relationship and relationships into action. Email isn't about sending more, it's about staying connected. When someone gives you their email, they're giving you permission to continue the conversation. That's why emails are so important. That's why having your email is so important to me, because I get to communicate with you and get to share this type of value with you on an ongoing basis. Reporting and metrics. I told you we're going to cover this a little bit. Why is it important? Because good intentions still need clear insight. Guys, I have hunches all the time, and I'm going to tell you, sadly, 9 out of 10 of them usually don't work. I got to look at the data. And a lot of times we're seeing that folks are doing ads and they're doing social media marketing, all that, and they're not looking at their data. They're just blasting it out there and hoping things work, not really taking the time to look at what's working. I have one organization that was doing a lot of one thing, and they missed that something else they did had like 5,000 views on Facebook, while everything else they were doing was getting like 60. And they realized this is the one thing. If I did this more, I can get more views on social media. Why reporting is essential. It shows that something's working and what isn't, connects your efforts to real outcomes, and it builds confidence with leadership and boards. This is important. When you go to report the results, you gotta have them to report. Ensures resources are used responsibly. So this is it's a fiscal responsibility thing. It's a strategic responsibility thing. Make sure you're reporting what gets measured, gets met. If it doesn't get measured, it gets missed. So what should be measured? Your website engagement and conversions. Now, this is different from your website visitors. You're going to get visitors. A lot of them are going to be bots. Website traffic is a challenge. It's always a kind of an estimate of stuff going on. But you need to be measuring your actual important things like engagement and conversion, your ad performance, your email opens, clicks, and responses, the growth in the audience and supporter actions. You need to be measuring the stuff that actually moves the needle. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it, you can't improve it. Okay, reports turn marketing activity into understanding and informed decisions. Data doesn't replace intuition. Okay, you're still going to have your gut feelings, but it strengthens it if it's valid, and it helps you refine it if it's not. Okay, it provides that clarity, not criticism, and the goal isn't perfection. It's progress, alignment, and accountability. Right? You want to follow your hunches, and you want to also know whether those hunches are paying off, even if partially. All right, everybody still with me? Just put a little 1 in the chat if you're still tracking with me, right? We're still on the wheel. We're still in the engine. We're still building this. Daniel, Maria, Rachel, fantastic. Thank you guys. Everybody else still connected with us. All right. Thank you, Rick. All right. So this is the nonprofit impact growth engine. This is that was the walkthrough through all of the pieces that we're talking about. I want to talk to you a little bit about website conversion and what that means, right? Making sure that you have prominent donate buttons, making sure there's a compelling hero section with a clear mission. Guys, those sliders, they're fun, they're wonderful, but nothing replaces a great image with a powerful impact statement that tells people why you're here and why they should care. Social proof, making sure that there's donor counts, impact stats, stories, show people the proof of what you're doing, right? You got to be mobile optimized, obviously, and make sure your the donation process is as well. Multiple giving options. You want to give people one-time, monthly, specific amounts, allow for open giving. There are a lot of folks that have multiple ways of giving, like you could give by Cash App, you can give by PayPal, you can give by. I really discourage doing too many of those. All right, I really encourage you to have one main track with maybe 1 or 2 other options. Otherwise, people won't give. They'll just kind of get stuck in that choice, that when we get frozen by not knowing what choice to make, and then we just kind of put it off for later and we don't do it. So if you just have a clear way, I recommend having the credit card path. Just move them through. Everybody's got that. You might have 1 or 2 people ask about, something else like Zelle or something, but most people will just put in their credit card and give. And then you also want to also have any trust signals. Make sure that if you've got a BBB or a Guide Star or Charity Navigator or any security badges that you might have, make sure that you're putting them on the site so people just know that that there's legitimacy and trustworthiness there. Moving on, this is the framework in action and how it could work together for you. So engagement comes in through search. We're seeing a website visit, a newsletter sign in. The person then starts following you on social, makes that one-time donation because they've been cultivated, right? We're in that cultivation stage. And they become a monthly giver once they start receiving a little more, or they get manually asked, hey, thank you for giving. Would you consider? How many of you guys have done that? Have you gone to your one-time givers and say, thank you so much for giving, right? Here's the mug that you get for the one-time gift, but have you considered maybe giving on a monthly basis? And it doesn't have to be the same amount. Maybe they give $100 and you just want them on a $10 a month thing because that gives you $120 a year, as opposed to that having to chase that person for that 100 every single year. All right. And then they go in, maybe they'll start volunteering. They becoming once they volunteer, people get that ownership, they become an advocate. And then they go back into the engagement stage where they get others engaged with your organization. Do you guys see how this can flow for you? This is an example of a planned, a very well-intentioned, a well-planned donor path. And this is what everybody's moving to. They're moving to really taking people, putting them in the buckets and figuring out how to get them to the next stage. So if I get a website visitor in, how do I get them to sign up? So you start you start making changes to your website to improve newsletter sign up. Then I say, well, how do I get more of those people to start following us on social? So you start now putting social links in your email newsletter. Then you start figuring out, well, how do I get my social following start giving? So you start experimenting with that. Creating these buckets, these milestones in the journey allows you to optimize each milestone. And that's the way you build massively in 2026. I want to give you a quick little case study here. So River Hope Foundation, this is kind of an organization that we kind of create for our storytelling, kind of combines a lot of the best of what we've seen nonprofits doing. And Riverside Foundation was struggling to grow beyond their local donor base. They had a dated website, no email automation, weren't utilizing Google ad grants, and weren't reaching out with any consistency. They redesigned website, created a platform for branding, communication, and traction within their community. SEO and engaged content drove organic traffic, while social media built an audience for their message. Paid ads drive donors, volunteers, and supporters into crafted, automated funnels. And consistent email marketing kept supporters and local leaders informed about their projects and needs. Quarterly KPI reports gave them intelligence they needed to make adjustments when needed. Through the increase and improvements in awareness, audience, interactive systems, and consistency of messaging, RHF exceeded their growth goals. I want to put your name here. I want to put your name here so that this is your story. And this is completely possible because everything I just stated here, this story, could be your story if you're just implementing this correctly. So I've given you the roadmap into 2026. All right. We need to be talking about investment. Okay. So nonprofits should be investing between 5 to 15% of their fundraising go back into marketing. Some of you guys, you look at that number and it's staggering. And you're like, wow, I couldn't possibly do that. The problem is that when you don't plan to do that, then you end up underspending, which means that you end up undergrowing. Investment levels under 5%, you're kind of maintaining your current levels. You're kind of staying at the status quo. If you're investing between 5 to 10, you're going to have some moderate growth, and 10 to 15%, you're going to have accelerated growth. A lot of nonprofits don't understand that when you look at another nonprofit that has grown and you look at another nonprofit that continues to grow, what you're not seeing behind the scenes is how much they're spending in their marketing. Now, this isn't just about spending, it's about spending it wisely. So having a framework to spend within, that'll help you to really maximize that investment. So an example here is if you have a $5,000 a year goal, 8% of that is $40,000 a year. So your marketing budget should be about $3,333 a month. And that's your combined marketing budget. That's everything. That's digital, that's your mail outs, it's everything. So it's not just your digital marketing. What I would recommend, suggested budget allocation by framework phase. So in the engagement phase, we're looking at about 40 to 50% of that budget. When we're looking at the cultivation stage, we should be looking at about 20 to 30% of the budget, and then in your activation stage, you're looking at 25 to 35%. So just giving you some buckets there where you can kind of split the numbers out. And then you want to what I want to do right now is just ask you if you're okay with doing it. Tell me what percentage of you're investing right now. Drop it in the chat real quick. Just tell me what percent. Doesn't have to be a number, an actual dollar amount, but just tell me consciously and put down on paper, board approved. How much? What percentage are you spending right now on your marketing? If you're brave enough to put that in there. All right, your action items. I'm going to give you a few little homework assignments that you can move to. You've got the planning guides. Make sure you take that manual, you go through it, you do all your planning. But I'm going to give you a few very poignant exercises here. Action item number 1: go and apply for the Google grant if you don't have it, guys. It's free. Go do it. Okay. Again, it's google.com/grant. Action item number 2: do an audit of your website design and content. In the manual that I gave you, that we send you to download, there's an entire audit process. So go through that process, and that gives you like a good 10,000 foot view. And then you could always deep dive in, and we can talk with you about doing that. Create a content calendar, consistently publish impact stories. That's action item number 3. Create your content calendar. Okay, so if you don't do this, what's going to happen is you're going to get to it when you get to it. If you create a content calendar, then it's going to get done. What gets put on the calendar actually gets done. Okay, action item number 4: create and set up your automation for inbound and outbound marketing. So don't count on when you have the time. Make sure that you are in a system that allows you to automate your inbound and outbound marketing. When something happens at your website, when somebody subscribes to something, there's something that happens automatically. Okay, make sure that you're timing your outbound marketing and setting that up ahead of time, right? So if you're going to do social posting, make sure that you're scheduling your posts. You could do that within Meta's infrastructure. You could do that with tools like Sprout Social. There's a bunch of other tools for that. Action item number 5: optimize your search engine positioning, your social media presence, and your paid ad strategy based on what we talked about today. Number 6, make sure you put together or hire a team that can help you to implement every ounce of this plan consistently without fail. That's the main thing. You guys know that, especially when it comes to things like marketing, we put together a plan, or we grab somebody's kid and we say, okay, you're going to post, and this is what you're going to post. And then that happens for about a month, and then it kind of dies off, right? We want to make sure that we're putting consistency in, not that we're doing this big push in the beginning of the year and then we kind of fall off. Daniel, this has been very informative. All right, Daniel, I appreciate it. We're just about done, just going over, but I appreciate it. And Maria, wonderful. So we want to just talk to you. There's, we want to help you to do what we can to implement as much of this plan. If you need the help, there's a link at the bottom here, nonprofitmarketingcenter.com/accelerate. If you want me to walk through this with you individually, there's no cost to this. Just make sure that you go to nonprofitmarketingcenter.com/accelerate. I'll ask some questions. We'll go through your mission, your organization. We'll look at the outcomes you're looking for. I will do a one-on-one with you, and that's at no cost to you. So make sure that you go to /accelerate there and get your nonprofit impact acceleration session, and then we'll get to meet each other and know each other a little bit more. I'll help you to implement these things. We'll create a plan for you. Okay. And then finally, I just want to thank you guys for being on here. Thank you for attending the workshop. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it's been valuable. Has it been valuable to you guys? Go ahead and just drop it in the chat. Just tell me whatever you want to say about this. This is it's been such a pleasure to be with you. I hope you have a clear roadmap to grow your donor base and increase fundraising in this new year. And remember, it's not just about the tactics, right? We went through a lot of stuff in here, but it's about building meaningful relationships with your supporters and making sure that you do this consistently. I want to wish you guys all a wonderful journey here into 2026, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you got anything else that you want to say in the chat, go ahead and do that. I'll wait here. And then if anyone has any questions, you can also put it in the chat. I'll go ahead and answer it if anybody does. I know this was like drinking out of a fire hydrant today, right? Thank you for hanging in there. You guys are troopers. Most of us stayed together. Will you be sending out a recording? Yep, I'll send you out a recording when we're all done. All right, so you have this. Anybody else? Any other questions? By the way, I'm looking up because I work on 6 screens. I don't know how many screens you guys work on, but I work on 6 screens, so I guess, see the whole world. I guess, right? Looks like I'm in a big Mack truck, just looking at the road ahead here. You're welcome, Rachel. You're welcome, Rick. Thank you so much, Rick. Appreciate it. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Rachel. Wonderful. Well, guys, thank you so much. I really look forward to meeting some of you guys. And if you need us at all, go over to nonprofitmarketingcenter.com, reach out to us, and I'll be sending you an email with a follow-up here. And you can feel free to ask me any questions that you need to. All right. Well, I am about to sign off. I appreciate you all and have a wonderful